Hello and welcome to Workforce Wisdom. I'm your host, Christy Bray, Chief Customer Officer at PracticeLink. This podcast explores the latest trends in healthcare recruitment, highlighting innovative strategies, success stories, and fresh perspectives that are transforming the healthcare workforce. These episodes lead to in-depth, thoughtful discussions with recognized industry-leading healthcare professionals, exploring the challenges of healthcare recruitment and beyond. Whether you're an experienced recruitment professional or just starting out, this podcast aims to help you discover how experts are reshaping the industry, leveraging technology, and fostering inclusive hiring practices. Today's episode, Workforce Wisdom, From Reach to Results, a modern approach to recruitment marketing in healthcare. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Lee Ratliff, Director of Marketing at PracticeLink. Lee is an award-winning people-centric marketing leader with more than 14 years of experience spanning healthcare, agency, and entrepreneurial environments. He brings a rare blend of strategic vision, creative storytelling, and performance-driven execution to everything he does. At PracticeLink, Lee leads company-wide marketing, communications, and growth strategy, supporting healthcare organizations and recruitment teams nationwide. He is the architect behind PracticeLink's Pro Marketing Services, a performance-based multi-channel recruitment marketing solution designed to move organizations beyond traditional job postings and toward proactive, targeted clinician engagement. Before joining PracticeLink, Lee served as a founding executive and chief marketing officer for a multi-state healthcare organization where he built recruitment and marketing infrastructure from the ground up, helping scale the organization to more than 300 clients and 30 partnerships prior to its successful sale. Throughout his career, Lee has overseen integrated campaigns across digital, print, events, employer branding, and emerging technologies, always with a sharp focus on ROI, data, and human connection. What truly sets Lee apart is his ability to bridge marketing strategy with real-world recruitment outcomes, helping organizations not only reach clinicians, but also resonate with them in meaningful ways. Welcome, Lee. I'm happy to have you today.
Thank you for having me, Christy. I'm excited to be here. I love what you're doing. I mean, this is an exciting time for PracticeLink, and I'm excited to interview with you today.
Awesome. So, Lee, I've mentioned a lot of the marketing work you've done from agency to healthcare organizations, and now you're really helping us shape recruitment marketing at PracticeLink. How did your early agency and leadership experience really shape the way you approach recruitment marketing today?
I'll say early in my career, working in agencies and building businesses taught me a few critical things, but the two that really sticks out to me is the fact that everything must be measurable and everything must serve a real human need. I think the agency life trains you to move fast, and you have to test constantly, and you have to really prove your value, because if you don't, clients don't renew, right? So, and then as on the leadership and entrepreneurial side, especially in healthcare, I was in the consumer directed services realm. I learned kind of what it feels like to have that pressure of having to hire fast, and you have compliance and you have growth all on the line. So I'd say those two things are what really shaped kind of the work that I do now.
Well, I know the work that you have helped clients do at PracticeLink. It isn't always about speed, but making sure that quality is there and making sure you are engaging the correct audience. When you began working on pro marketing, what was the gap or the need that you saw in the healthcare recruitment space that really inspired you with this initiative?
I say that it was largely reactive. I think, and still today, I think healthcare recruitment was largely reactive. And I think that organizations were posting jobs and kind of hoping for the right clinician, while the market had already shifted, right, to a more candidate-driven reality. So there was a disconnect. And I think that modern marketing and the things that we do now help to bridge that gap, if that makes sense. So bringing modern performance-based marketing and strategy directly into recruitment without adding all of the complexities.
And pro marketing is really built around that tailored, data-driven model, like you mentioned. In your words, what does it mean to take a data-driven approach to recruitment marketing?
I've been in marketing for 15 years, right? As marketers, we're glued to the dashboards. We're looking at what the results are, and that's kind of all we really care about. But I think that nowadays, when you think of data-driven, you think of intentionality also, because it's based on more of behavioral things other than just assumptions or just a dashboard. So I think that's very important. And in recruitment marketing, it really starts with understanding where clinicians live, where they work, how they consume content, where they consume content, and really what motivates them. So I think that we have a good mix of both.
I know many organizations, they still rely on just job postings alone and just like letting it sit there. Still needed. That is definitely the very first step that's needed. But what strategic shifts are most important for our listeners to think about as they make this move towards that proactive marketing and candidate sourcing?
I think realization, and it may sound cliche, but it's mental. The first shift is going to be mental. It's recognizing that job posts are kind of like the finish line and not the starting point. You have to build that momentum. You have to build that awareness. So I think that organizations have to think more like marketers, right? You have to adopt my mentality, right? And, building that awareness, nurturing the interest, staying visible long before clinicians are even actively searching. That is what kind of sets you apart. So that's what I'd say. I'll give you a second. I think integration also would be a shift. So making sure that your leadership is in alignment, making sure that your strategies or you have shared strategies and you're not operating in silos, right? I think that is very important also.
As you look at that, I think it also becomes, and I know we'll get into kind of this multi-channel, multi-directional, it can't just be the job post and it can't just be some single email campaigns. There's a whole bunch of other work that can round out what that looks like in terms of visibility.
Right. I agree.
So I know some of the feedback that we've gotten from our customers that you've assisted, they really love the customization of the marketing campaigns, much to like what you said, where are the clinicians and what type of content are they consuming? So how do you balance that strategy of the creative storytelling to truly represent that organization's brand?
I'd say we always start with strategy. Strategy is going to be very important, who we're targeting, what we want them to feel when they see us. It's almost a part of branding also, and what action we want them to take. But strategy alone doesn't really connect with people. So I think storytelling really helps bridge that gap. I think for our clients, them having that customizable feel and approach to how they do their marketing and do their branding, and we take that and we marry it with the strategy, I think that that's kind of how we bring that together. So they've done the creative groundwork, right? And we're just taking and adopting that, and we're marrying that with the strategy that we know works. Because you don't want a generic feel. You want that relevance.
And I know within recruitment, we always say, what's in your recruitment toolbox? And pro marketing has some really cool tools like geo-targeting, social media, email campaigns, text, and print media, which I still believe in. Nobody's ever going to convince me that a postcard campaign doesn't work, because it works. Which channel do you think really deserves more attention from our listeners and people that are outsourcing today?
If we're talking like modern day, cutting edge and results driven, I'm going to have to go with geo-targeting. They're all important, but geo-targeting and any type of programmatic digital campaign that you can put together are going to be important, but most definitely geo-targeting. Geo-targeting really allows the organization to reach clinicians based on where they work, where they live, where they play. That is going to be the most important component.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we all know email boxes get really full. And I was reading some information, I think I shared it with you last week, really about how candidates, we've always known they usually set up a different email address that they submit to tools like PracticeLink because they get bombarded during their residency and on into practice. The one thing I didn't know was setting up a Google phone number that actually is kind of catching some of that spam and filtering it out from their main phone number. But it was really interesting. I think it spoke to, if you're not doing the very customized and, really digging in on your candidate pool before you're sending these messages out, that's just adding to the noise. And so it's not helping anybody get better when you're getting all those email campaigns or those texts and they're not directed at people who you're really interested in.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Or that might be interested in you based on their profile.
That's right. And with geotargeting, you can cut through that noise and that chatter. And you can go directly to who you're looking to target. And that is the goal. But you have to do it consistently and you have to do it more than once.
How does geotargeting or those broader digital tactics really change the way that organizations are attracting candidates? I think you touched on it there, but the key thing you just said is you have to do this messaging consistently. None of this is one and done. This is a programmatic reach, and maybe explain what that means.
Well, okay, so traditionally, methods would rely on intent. Someone has to already be looking. But I think with digital tactics like geotargeting, it allows us to create that intent. So with geotargeting social, we can stay present in a clinician's world instead of relying on them seeing us, if that makes sense. So instead of them asking, well, who's hiring? They can start with thinking of, I keep seeing this organization, so maybe I should look them up. Maybe I should give them a look-see to see what they're hiring for. It creates a fundamental shift in how talent pipelines are really built. Most definitely.
Do you have a basic philosophy on reaching clinicians where they are? Maybe some advice you could give to our listeners?
I'd say respect their time and you have to earn their attention. We can't just, like you said earlier, bombard them with information and expect for it to land. We have to earn their attention by putting strategic things in front of them that we know they're interested in. We already know where they are, where they even shop, because once we follow their IP address, we can kind of like follow them all around the internet. So I'd say, yeah, those two, respect their time, earn their attention. And I'll also say, Christy, for that, to me, that means short, clear messaging. Mobile first design. We don't want anything that's too clunky and where they have to figure out, okay, where do I click? I say relevance above all else, though.
It wasn't one of our questions, but that's what I was going to ask you. What type of content really resonates? I know that you talk to folks about video, or I think really it's providing, here's a sense of our community, here's a sense of our hospital. Are there specific formats that you would think about that work better in those cases?
I'd say most definitely. So for me, I think that creating that environment, that digital environment that says, okay, this is somewhere that I would want to work. So highlighting what the lifestyle is in that particular area or things of that nature. But it has to be relevant and it has to hit them quickly because you want to build and provide that value quickly. That way, clinicians will tune in to what you're talking about.
To what you're selling. I think a lot of
recruiters. What you're selling.
I'm somebody, my dad was in sales and I never thought I was in a sales role. And I've had a few people say, yes, that you're totally in a sales and marketing role. That is the career path you've chosen. So hopefully I'm okay at sales. I never thought I was a salesperson, but I think reminding people, that's why it is so competitive, because you're selling this job and that's what all recruiters do. Absolutely.
In my leadership over the years, I've always taught that everyone's a salesperson. We're selling something, we're selling a service, we're selling an idea, we're selling ourselves, whatever the case may be. So yeah, I love that.
PracticeLink is evolving. Our commitment is clarity, simplicity, and trust, delivered steadily instead of disruptively, and built to support better recruiting outcomes over time. Learn more at PracticeLink.com.
So we talked about data-driven, and I know one of the many challenges that our customers bring to us is really measuring the ROI on their spend. If it's recruitment tools, marketing, whatever it is, what are some key measurements of success that you look for in recruitment marketing campaigns?
A lot of times we may rely on those vanity metrics, and that's okay because we don't always have much to go off of when it comes to different avenues of marketing. But I'd say ROI in recruitment marketing isn't just cost per click. I'd say it's more about cost per outcome. Okay, so organizations should really look at metrics like applicant quality, reduced recruiter workload, long-term pipeline growth, things of that nature. I think success should be measured in efficiency, maybe sustainability, maybe what that impact of the messaging and the ad really is, and not just vanity metrics.
Yeah. And I think I would also say you've got to measure it consistently over a prolonged period of time.
100%. And that's how you measure that long-term pipeline growth, right? You have to do it consistently.
I was taught many years ago, these campaigns take at least 90 days to grab someone, to get the placement in the right spot. I've seen it push out even into a 6-month mark. Is 90 days kind of your standard, or do you think it's quicker or slower?
90 days has always been my standard. I'd say between 90 to 120 days. But what we also have to understand and keep front of mind is that once you push an ad out, even if we're no longer targeting, it still may linger. So someone may save that ad, they may screenshot it, they may go to your website. So I'd say the effects of those ads, they have staying power if you are putting your ads together correctly. So that means that you have to rely on our team. So leave it to the professionals to do it the right way so that we can assure that you have that staying power in the marketplace.
The story I've told for many years, I did have a physician that we were interviewing and ultimately hired, and he had a letter that I put together, signed by our CMO, but put this letter together from our chief medical officer, and he had taped it to his bathroom mirror. So the time wasn't right. He still had that piece. So it was 12 to 18 months later on that one letter that I did. And I think that's powerful to show this is a long game. This isn't a quick sale. Recruitment is not that.
No, we're not car salesmen.
Right. Not impulse buying.
We're not impulse. That's right. Yeah. So it takes time to build that intent. It really does. So I say that 90-day cycle, I've always relied on that in marketing, always.
So what are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've encountered as you've worked with this marketing piece within healthcare and recruitment? And really, how do you help organizations, maybe some of our customers, shift that mindset?
One of the biggest misconceptions I'd say is that marketing is just about promotion, or that marketing and branding are the same. I'll say marketing is just promotion. It's not promotion. It's really, in reality, marketing is strategy, is data, is behavioral science. It's those things that truly matters when it comes to building a robust marketing plan. I'll say when organizations understand that marketing supports recruiters by kind of warming the audiences, building that credibility, the mindset really shifts from skepticism to collaboration. I think that is extremely important. So that would be my advice.
And oftentimes within organizations, the marketing team, the recruitment team, they're not the same. You talked about silos earlier. At least in my career, those have been very defined silos. I think the key would be the work the marketing team is doing from a branding standpoint, whatever's out in the community, that ends up coming through feedback. If it's Glassdoor or Reddit, or, would you be a patient there? Equally, would you be an employee there? I think all of that matters in terms of that collaboration on how marketing and recruitment can leverage each other's talents to be successful. What advice would you give? So speaking to healthcare leaders, I know that you work closely with leaders and with sourcing folks on individual teams, but speaking to that executive or that leader who really wants to help enhance their recruitment marketing, where do you help them start?
So I'd say clarity is going to be very important. So start with clarity, understand who you're trying to attract, have an understanding, and some people don't. It would surprise you, but make sure you have an understanding of what makes your organization different and understand what some of your pain points of some of your current gaps are. You don't need everything at once, but you need to start with maybe 2 strategies, a multi-channel approach, something that's going to measure your results, something that's going to, I'd say, measure those results, and then you can kind of build from there, right? I think recruitment marketing works best when you're consistent and it's not overwhelming for you or for who you're targeting. So that would be my advice for leaders. Kind of start with what makes your organization different, have that clarity, and understand what those gaps are.
I think that's great. I think a key that you said, start with something. You can't eat an elephant in one bite. You got to start with something on the brand side. And then I equally would say, just selfish promotion on the PracticeLink side, let us help you. If it's, we would love to go to this career fair or that thing, let us help you kind of build a solid strategy behind the marketing. Because when you do go to a specialty conference, it's another form of recruitment marketing when you're there in the booth and you're talking to folks.
And that kind of goes back to when I said, identify where your current gaps are. Once you identify where those gaps are, you call us to do the heavy lifting, to bridge those gaps.
Okay, the last question, I always have people get like their crystal ball out and be ready to kind of predict some future things. But as we see the market evolve, what are some of the trends that you see shaping the future of recruitment marketing, specifically in healthcare, over the next couple of years? And then maybe add to that, what excites you really with that marketing talent acquisition coming together piece?
So I'd say generative AI, automation is going to make or break. You have to be in a position to where you understand it, to where you have incorporated it. It will continue to help us improve efficiency. Personalization will become even more important, right? And that's going to help with that relevance piece, because if you learn to maybe automate some things, you don't have to go back to the drawing board every time. So I'll say automation is going to be very important, AI. And let's see, what excites me most about the space right now? I'd say recruitment marketing being recognized as a strategic lever and not just a support function. I think that bringing us in with what we've done with pro marketing is going to really catapult a lot of our partners in how they do marketing and kind of their idea behind how they do marketing and how they structure their marketing. So I'd say seeing recruitment marketing as more of a strategic lever. It excites me the most right now about the space that we're in. We're helping organizations compete more thoughtfully, humanize their employer brands, and connect with those clinicians where they can. It's an exciting time. It really, truly is.
I agree. And I think that the more that you can take the time to do what you've outlined in terms of those strategies, the more success you'll be. It is a long game, but the success metrics are there for jumping in and getting started with some of these tactics. Lee, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insights on how thoughtful marketing strategies can elevate healthcare recruitment.
Thanks for having me, Christy. I can talk to you about this all day long.
So for our listeners, if you find today's conversation valuable, we invite you to like, follow, subscribe to Workforce Wisdom wherever you get your podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or iHeartRadio. If this episode sparked a new idea or resonated with your work, please consider sharing it with a colleague or your recruitment team. And really, those small actions help us to reach more professionals and to share this messaging. To learn more about recruitment marketing strategies and resources, visit the PracticeLink Resource Center at practicelink.com or connect with Lee on LinkedIn to continue the conversation. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. Email us at plmedia@practicelink.com with your thoughts, questions, or ideas for future episodes. I'm Christy Bray. Thank you for tuning in to Workforce Wisdom. I'll see you next time.